Welcome to day 2 of Gamejolt's Five Nights at Freddy's 8th anniversary celebration. We have firesides today and tomorrow, but thanks to our quests and the great FNAF community, the party goes all week. And today's firesides are all about interviewing members of the FNAF Fangame dev community. And once all their games that we talk about today are released, you'll get to play them right here on Gamejolt. Later today at 12 p.m. Pacific, I'll be interviewing Powerline Studios, the team behind the Glitched Attraction, and at 1 Pacific, I'll be interviewing some of the team behind Fazbear Tycoon. But right now, we're kicking off our day of interviews with Fredinator 1.
Yeah.
He's worked on fan games, including A Golden Past, Fredbear's Resort, and Five Nights at Freddy's Illumination. Thank you so much for joining me, Fredinator.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
I love seeing the chat pop off with their excitement. They're so excited to see you here, and I have quite the mustache.
The stickers. I'm just looking at your logo and there's everything. There's stickers everywhere.
I cannot be seen behind the stickers, which I think is incredible. But, you know, today we're talking about the FNAF community, so I think my first question for you is, how did you get in to Five Nights at Freddy's originally?
Well, Mr. Jolt,
yeah,
basically...
Well, I'm an associate of Mr. Jolt.
You're the Jolting. I'll just call you Jolting.
Yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
So it started off in 2014.
Okay.
It was around when I was in, I think, elementary school. I don't remember what grade I was in actually, but it was when Markiplier uploaded his first video.
Interesting.
But the funny story is, I didn't watch Markiplier play off the bat. I instead went over to SMG4, and because I was scared to death of Five Nights at Freddy's when I first saw it, I was like, what is that?
Fair enough.
And then, like, I went to SMG4 and just started getting the memes, and then I grew from there.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, this is a cool game. I'm gonna watch Markiplier. So I watched Markiplier. I went on to Jacksepticeye, Cory Kenshin, you name it, and then it started, like, building up from there. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a cool game. And, well, here we are, 8 years later.
People love hearing that origin story for sure.
Oh yeah.
So that's how you got into FNAF, but how did you get into making fan games?
Ooh, that was roughly, I'd say 2017. It was near the start of, I think, freshman year of high school, I think. I had a friend named Finish Ham on Gamejolt. And I started off with, you know, because I had nothing at the time, and I had Cinema 4D. As a basic, I didn't have modelers, I didn't have anything, so I started off with the recolored style, which is Five Nights at Bradley's, which is actually on my page for Legacy. It's a 2017 fan game. I call it the daddy of my fan games because it's literally there. It's just there, and they're a hard to look back to, but it kind of started off there. Like Five Nights at Bradley's, it started off with the series because of Finish Ham. It got coded. And then from there, I started going on, come up with ideas for like brainstorming pretty much every time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of worked out pretty well.
That is really interesting. I mean, and I think it's, you know, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, but it's always interesting seeing how far you've come from your earlier works and being able to look back on them and be like, I see why I thought that was good and cool, but I don't know that I would do that again.
Especially recolors, I'm like, oh no, poor Gamejolt. His mom didn't deserve those.
That was always how I got started making mods and stuff too. It was all like, oh look, my hue and saturation slider. This is a new character. Do not steal.
Oh yeah, this is my character, Bradley. I have him written on a paper. This is all mine. You know something funny? His name is spelled wrong. It doesn't have the E in Bradley, so it says Bradly, and I stuck with it.
Well, maybe the equivalent of Fazbear Entertainment intentionally did that so they could copyright the name Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big fan of when I made a mistake in my game. No, that was on purpose. Don't worry about it. I wanted to do that.
That's fine, yeah. Actually, I think, funny enough, Mallrat pointed out when I first talked to him, Mallrat pointed out, he was like, isn't it Bradley's? I'm like, well, you see, technically speaking, yesn't. Kind of how it went.
So we've talked about some of the games you've made, but if you had to give one piece of advice to people who want to get into making fan games, what would that piece of advice be?
Well, firstly, brainstorm. Make sure that's what you want to get yourself into, because making FNAF fan games is kind of a lot of work, especially when you're doing it for years and motivation can be a burnout.
Yes.
Start small. Don't go big. Don't go ambitious. Start small. Make it simple as possible. Make sure you brainstorm it. Make sure you have at least some friends who can help you. Make sure you know someone, etc. Just get out. Just make sure that's what you want to do. As soon as you do it and it gets blown up, you will be talked about. It's that kind of whole deal. Make sure you start small.
There was that guy who makes stuff in the chat was agreeing with you that burnout sucks.
Burnouts do suck. Burnouts are like, especially when it's years of work, it's like
absolutely. And I think that's definitely one of those things that you learn as you've started doing stuff over time.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been making fan games for years. Like I saw that you even made one. You were even working on a Golden Past itself back in 2018.
Oh, it's old.
How has your experience of making FNAF fan games changed over that time?
Well, from 2018, basically, okay, this is a funny story. Ghost Games X, aka the coder I talked to you about.
Yes.
I was dumb back in the day. Let me just say that. I didn't know what UI was, so it kind of like it was basically an experience.
Right.
I know what UI was. I didn't know what anything was. But it changed over the years because as I started seeing how people did it, I kind of learned from it. But it was funny. The funny start. It was an interesting start, to say the least. I know what I was doing back in the day. Actually, fun fact, I didn't do most of the renders for games back in the day.
Interesting.
I know what I was doing again. It was mainly Strix, or back then when he was called BFD. It was that kind of deal. Fansham did renders for it. I was basically a noob.
Of course, yes. But back when you're starting out.
It certainly changed. But it certainly changed as I got more experience. Because nowadays I can just model myself sometimes, or I hire people.
Yeah.
I have friends, I have teams. It's kind of, a big experience for that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so how did you come up with the idea for a Golden Past originally? and how did that idea change as you actually developed the game and really worked on it?
I was anticipating this question. How I came up with AGP, guys. Are you ready for its origin story?
Ooh.
Basically, Vines of Bradley's was, again, as I said, my earliest fan game, obviously.
Yeah.
I kind of I was inspired by Jolly 2 at the time, and I was like, coming home from school on the bus, and as soon as I got off the bus, started walking home with the music, I was like, I should make a Fredbear game called A Golden Past. And I hooked up Fanboy, Strix, which is what he's called now, Strix. I hooked up him, basically, and the page went through 3 different versions.
Oh, wow.
It had a version 1, which was... actually, it's still on the main page. It's a downloadable demo. I think I sent to you.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Version 2 had original models in it, but Climaxy, the modeler, got burnt out, and so we didn't do it, and I was bad at rendering, so it was kind of a good thing. Version 2 had its own page for a little while, but it's deleted now, obviously.
Right.
And now here we are, version 3, aka the one everyone knows, which actually had a demo, which was awful. Good lord. And then it had a full game with mediocre graphics, and then it had my boy Radzla, which is over on Gamejolt. He has the toonies. My friend Radzla basically hooked me up with the graphical update, and from there, kind of worked.
And were those previous versions also released in multiple chapters, or is that new for the current version?
Yeah, they were all planned for chapters. Basically, version 1, it was planned for 5 chapters, because it was going through because I was basically inspired by SFM videos, like those story videos. I was like, oh, hey, maybe I could do chapters, see how this can go. Obviously, now I've shortened it, because, well, there's no need at this point for 5 chapters. But at the time, that was the mindset, and then chapter 2 was going to be a set of 5 chapters. So I guess it kind of changed. It went from chapters to not chapters, and now it's back to chapters. Because version 2, it was going to be one big, like, download thing. And it was going to be awful. It was disgusting. It was bad. It was the worst thing ever.
I always find that we are it's easiest to roast your own past work, and so I very much relate to that.
It's so easy to roast it.
Has releasing it in chapters helped a lot with that burnout you were talking about, with sort of by making it in the smaller chunks so you don't have to do that huge sort of release all at once?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, me and my team are still burnt out for chapter 3 at the moment because we're trying to work on other stuff. But in general, it has made it easy. If we went on a full-on game, this would be the most disastrous thing of FNAF community possible. I'm just saying, like, we would all rage quit at this point. It would have been terrifying. Slam desk, we've quit, I'm fired, get out, that kind of deal.
How has working on a Golden Past differed from some of the work you've done on other fan games like Fredbear's Resort or Five Nights at Freddy's Illumination? Because I know that those are more, you're part of a larger team, whereas with a Golden Past, you sort of came up with that initial idea from the beginning.
Well, a Golden Past is different because, again, as you said, it's older. Fredbear's Resort is a lot more ambitious. I'm trying to make it like as an improvement as possible. It's on an actual resort. I don't know if you've seen the page on Cosmo Game.
Yeah,
it's actually on
it looks
resort.
Great.
And thank you. I'm gonna give my shouts to Radzler because he did the graphics for it, and he's awesome. I love Radzler's graphics so much, and Resort is a lot more ambitious. Illumination's kind of that one fun project, but I mean, like, obviously I'm burnt down from it at the moment as well.
Of course,
but like,
I mean, I think that comes with any sort of game dev project. Is eventually you get a level of burnout, no matter how well planned out it is or well executed. I mean, we were talking before how, like, one of the key parts of any game dev is the vibing break, where you're just like, we're just sitting with our game for a little bit right now.
I'm just sitting here listening to my music, doing the calls, that stuff. Everything's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's just sort of how it goes.
Yeah, Fangame's kind of zoom like that. Like, it's kind of, you start off like, I got this, go through your try hard, and all of a sudden it just flatlines right there for a little bit. Like, all that's left for Illumination besides the coding is some UI, which I haven't directed Red Rabbit yet because I'm lazy. But there's also the animation by Bubby Gamer 11, which I'm going to confirm that right now. So that's all that's really needed besides the coding.
Yeah, but
I see him in the chat. Red Rabbit says, "You better, Fred."
And definitely shout out all of the people who are helping you make anything you're doing. I love that that's been happening too. What's one of the things you're most excited for players to see? Oh, my eyes are on fire. What's one of the things you're most excited for players to see in a Golden Past or any of the other games you're working on?
Well, it's kind of, I'm hoping people see the creativity behind it, like the hard work we put into it. Like, obviously, there's better fan games out there. I'm not trying to compete with others. I'm just there. The thing you should see into it is, like, I hope people see into it is the creativity, how it works. Just see it as a fun series just there, and just see how the experience goes from there.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, and before we were on, you were talking about how much you love to see how creative the entire community is.
Oh yeah, this community's creative. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and I loved that sort of that non-competitive attitude of just, it's really cool seeing creativity from anyone in the community. Yeah, because the more creative any part of the community is, the more creative the community as a whole is, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I just hope people see the creativity in these games, like, because we're obviously people, we're humans, we're gonna be burnt out. Yeah. There's gonna be a lot of time. We just hope when it does come out, people see the creativity. I'm cool with opinions and criticism. That's fine. That's whatever.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
But the hatred part of it, that's like, whatever.
Yeah, I think
it kind of gets into see the creativity.
It's definitely important to remember that the people who make the games that you're playing are people, and sort of treat them with that kind of respect. So I'm trying to think of the best way to what has surprised you the most about making fan games? Yeah, from the entire history of it, all the way back to 2017, 2018, what has been the biggest surprise about
the progress? Like meeting other developers, meeting my team. Like without Bradley's, I wouldn't have met Freddy Fazgame or Red Rabbit Games, Ghost Games. Like it's kind of like without that, I wouldn't really be here. So it's kind of like it's been quite a change since 2017, and it's honestly very impressive to me. Yeah, and how the community has been growing over the years. Like everyone would have thought FNAF would have died. No, it's still going strong after 8 years. That's surprising to me. It's
impressive. I mean,
it's very impressive.
I definitely think of other sort of indie things that came out at around the same time, and not very many have had the staying power that FNAF has had. I mean,
no, it doesn't have the forceful strength. It doesn't have the muscle.
Yeah, it doesn't have a scarily close movie. What are there any hints you want to give about a Golden Pass or any of the games you're working on, about what people can expect to discover soon or discover when they are released and can play them?
I'm hoping, honestly, due to the burnout, obviously, again, as I stated like 30 million times in this stream alone.
But I think that's also good advice.
Yeah.
That's good advice for people who are going to get into fan games, is the importance of sort of taking care of yourself while you're working on the games and setting realistic goals for yourself so you can minimize how much burnout there is, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, it is. I think I can give a hint to like some of the games. Like for Resort, I'm hoping or planning it's gonna be ambitious again. There's gonna be I'm gonna plan animations, some new UI, HUD, that stuff. I'm gonna go sweat on that. Illumination is gonna be its own simple fan game. It's gonna be it's gonna be its own thing. I can't really hint much because I can't really hint much because it's a simple fan game. But I can kind of hint. It's going to be Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator inspired. It's going to have some turnaround moments. It's going to have a Night 5 segment. It's going to be having some inspirations. I can hint some mechanics to Chapter 3.
I'd love to hear that. That would be really cool.
Well, I could say if you people took this out of context, by the way, which I'm still, like upset about. Not actually, but like I said, when you hear Bonnie moaning, which I should have said the crying child noise. Yeah, just go into the locker, and then he'll actually walk into the office, look around, and walk back. It's kind of what I'm giving a hint at for Bonnie. But like when you hear, you guys know what I'm talking about. You pull the monitor up and it goes, it makes that noise, right?
Yeah, it's like a spooky, creepy noise.
Yeah,
not
basically. You go into the locker and then you hide, and they walk in, walk out. It's that kind of deal. Yeah. I can also hint into 01, which is actually revealed as well. Let's just say he isn't a still image in his mechanic. He's going to be animation in events.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I'm going to say that.
Yeah. And then,
there's obviously going to be a door as well, so I'm going to be pretty classical with that.
Interesting, yeah. That's really interesting. How have you... What has been the biggest sort of... So how is the lore of a Golden Pass differed from any of the original lore? Like, do you view it as sort of a change to the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's? Are you building just on the original lore of Five Nights at Freddy's? Or
a little bit. It's kind of like it's my own version of it. Like I can reveal Chapter 3 is not the final one. I'm going to say that right now.
That's a big reveal. That's really exciting.
Yep, that's a big reveal. I revealed it in an interview with Gamejolt. Let's go. But Chapter 3 is not the end. There's going to be an ending. It's basically the story of Golden Freddy, and it's basically kind of like that, but also going through my own version of how FNAF should have ended. Basically, like people think it's gonna be FNAF 3 in Chapter 4, but it's not. I'm gonna say that right now. It's not FNAF 3. It won't be
that's FNAF another big reveal.
It won't be FNAF 1. It'll be rather surprising, to say the least.
I mean, that's a fun tease of what's coming next. I think that that's very interesting.
There's a lot to come.
So another question is, we've talked a lot about your FNAF fan game work. Have you ever made any fan games around other franchises, or have you really focused on FNAF so far?
Mainly focused on FNAF so far. I haven't really done anything with franchises because I tried to normally avoid that.
Makes sense.
But, yeah, I've basically been trying to go into just the FNAF. Also, I see you, Biohazard, in chat. I'm going past the space. All right, understandable. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. I don't know why that got me so much. So in addition to your FNAF fan game work, what else do you do? Like, what other kind of development work do you do?
Besides, like, obviously I'm a lazy person. I usually do work for other people. I usually do work for other people, like rendering or models, but as if I'm not lazy. If I'm lazy, then, well, good luck trying to get me to actually, you know, work on something. Because I'll be like, yeah, but you see, I don't want to. Usually, Severity, here's the thing, when I have the mood to do something in Severity, it crashes on me. And it doesn't do like Blender, where it instantly closes. It'll sit there and load, and watch your creation just fade away. I'll be just sitting there like, Severity, are you freezing? No, and it just closes on me. It just sits there and just does that gray screen loading and closes. That annoys the daylights out of me. And it's like,
I hate that kind of crash, or when like Windows messes up and you just can't get the window to appear. Where it's like, I see you're open. Why can't you appear? I just want to save you before you crash.
It does it out of nowhere too. It has no warning. Like, I'll go in there smooth as butter, like just no lag, nothing. All of a sudden, oh well, I'm just gonna freeze. Get trolled. Just get trolled, man. There you go.
Yeah, just trolling Cinema 4D.
Yeah, somebody does a little too much trolling on me.
So you mentioned some of the tools you use. Are there any other specific programs you would recommend that fan devs or people who want to become fan devs look into using and figuring out how to work with?
Well, if you want to do rendering that's, you know, free, Blender is obviously another software you can do. Yeah, Blender, yeah, someone said recommend it.
Blender's big.
There's Blender, and then if you want to start coding, start off with ClickTeam, which, I mean, there are people who crack it, you know, whatever, and stuff. But people also buy it. If you want to start off early, get ClickTeam. But, like, because I don't code. I suck at coding. I leave that up to my coders on my team who help with that.
Yeah.
So it's like they use ClickTeam. Now, if you want to do something 3D, like Joy Creation, for example, do something like Unity or Unreal, figure out what to do. Usually, if I want to edit images, I use an app called Fire Alpaca, which is a free drawing software.
Oh, cool.
Which I have done arts on, as I post on my page.
Yeah.
But, like, you could do, like, glow or blurry, which, you know, kind of does that thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff you can get into.
That's really cool. So we have a few minutes left, and so I would know the I wanted to loop back around to sort of what other what are some other things you're working on outside of, you know, a Golden Past and all your FNAF games? What other stuff are you working on? Well,
I could say as well, you're not going to see the end of me in fan games. So I still got a lot of FNAF fan games to come. And also, you said this is fine, by the way. I will make sure before I say it.
Yeah. You can talk about what other stuff you're doing.
I'm planning to do an original horror game with Strix eventually.
That's a big reveal now on this
It's going to be Steam. We're going to try and have it released on Steam eventually.
Interesting. I mean, I think that's a huge
thing.
That's a huge reveal right now. People, I see the chat loving that big reveal right now, calling it a huge win.
Yep, it'll be its own thing. We also have concepts by hold on, let me see. I forgot their name. I'm sorry, Twinsville. I had a brain fart. I forgot their name. But Twinsville, they did the concept art for the characters.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have my original game. I have a lot of FNAF games coming. I did cancel some behind the scenes, which I will have to post about, being some stuff because of some issues I had with development. But there's still some stuff that are still around.
I mean, I think
I have a lot to come.
it's definitely good to talk about when you have to sort of stop a project before it's done, because that's such a big part of development is, oh, well, we discovered this issue happened or anything like that. So I think that's super fair to stop a game before it's out.
Yeah, which I should add to newcomers. If you want to start a game and you feel your motivation's bad, don't be afraid to cancel it. You can bring it back later on, or you can just move on to something else that you're into. Don't be afraid to cancel a game, no matter how popular it is.
Absolutely.
If you want to cancel the game, you cancel it.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad for it, because I've done it. Yeah. It's a stab in the heart, but don't burn yourself out. It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that we got to talk about really, really underline that importance of that, and also the fact that really highlighting the fact that you don't need to know how to code to work on any fan games. Like you can.
Yeah, you can just do the rendering job.
Exactly.
Rendering. You can do directing. You could do the scripting. Anything really. You can just make up a team, which I recommend as well. Get a team.
Yes.
Working. I think Bubby works solo for the most part, and he says it's pretty hard. You could do it, but just get a team. It'll be easy. Trust me.
Yeah, solo fan game making is always is very impressive, but also not what I would recommend, because having to have all of those skill sets feels incredibly difficult. And I mean, game jams also feel like a really good way to initially make a team or find a team of people who want to make things together. But also just put out there that you want to join a team. And I think I'm sure it's scary to sort of put yourself out there sometimes, but I think it's an important first step to getting to work on anything.
And if you worry that people will ask for, obviously there are people who ask for money for it, but there will be, don't be afraid to ask them. There will be those people who will work for free if you want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
They will be like, hey, you know what? I see you struggling. I want to help you out. Here's some free stuff. I will help you out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, that deal.
Especially with the fan game community, it seems like there's a lot of that. And I think it's an earthquake. Yeah, that's my monitor bouncing around, which has my camera on it. So
beautiful.
So we have a couple minutes. This chat has been. The chat is always wonderful. I love the Gamejolt community. Thank you all for joining us for this. We have a couple minutes left in this fireside. Is there anything else that you want to make sure to get to mention and talk about in this fireside?
I don't really have much to say besides, like, maybe I think I've already answered this, but I want to make sure just in case, just for people who want to begin, don't overwork yourself on a fan game either. Yes. If you want to go sweat and try hard on a fan game, you do you, but do expect there will be stuff that will come in the way, especially when you have real life problems, school. If you want to work on a very detailed game, make sure you're good to go. It can be terrifying, especially when you're working by yourself or sometimes a team. Take your time. Don't rush it. Exactly. A rush game is bad.
I'm always so impressed. Yeah. I'm always so impressed how many fan devs balance school and making these incredible fan games.
Impressive. I used to be that way. That way, but like I don't have to anymore. I thought about getting a job eventually, so it's that kind of deal.
But I think that's I love both that you really doubled down on highlighting the fact that you shouldn't burn yourself out, and how much the chat is also really leaning into the importance of taking care of yourself while you dev, because you'll be able to make more games if you don't burn yourself out on your first game, rather than later on, where if you just burn yourself out, you may never get it done, and you certainly won't get anything done in the future.
Yeah, like, take it from someone who's been in the community since 2014. You will get burnt out. Newcomers, you will have that high drug boost. You'll have rainbows coming out, just ready to work. But that time will come when you're like, oh, I want to work on it. And that time will come. Trust me, it will come. You get that it dies out. You will get that lazy fall back and just listen to music, bopping your head. Yes. It'll come.
Absolutely, it'll come. Thank you, Fred Nader, so much for joining us, for joining me for this interview. I think this has been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's been an honor.
And definitely follow Fred Nader on Gamejolt. Keep up with the FNAF fan game dev scene in general, and with Frednator's work specifically. Later today at noon Pacific, so in about 30 minutes, there will be another fireside where I'll be interviewing Powerline Studios, the team behind the Glitched Attraction, and then later today I'll also be interviewing the team behind Fazbear Tycoon. But is there anything else you want to say before I extinguish the fireside and we say
good luck to the rest of the people you're interviewing, honestly. Like, I probably won't be there because I'll be doing my own thing, but
for sure,
to them answering the questions, I can't wait to see what they I just hope they do well answering the questions and do good, because I just wish them luck. I wish them luck in the end. But it's been an honor talking to you, doing this interview. I was nervous before this, but I'm fine now, so everything's fine.
Yeah. You've been wonderful. Thank you so much for this, Frednator. And so for now,
thank you
for the kind words. Thank you for all the great advice for everyone in the chat who wants to make their fan games, and we'll see you later.
See ya.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.